Hello, my name is Rachel and welcome to our channel, Dragon Light Bay. Today we're going to talk about some astrology. We're going to talk about the new moon occurring on April 1st at 6:24 a.m. That is GMT time. And so that is going to be occurring on April 1st in the sign of Aries. All right. So we are going to be in the month of April. Beginning of the month is, of course, the sun is in Aries. The new moon is in Aries. We've got Mercury in Aries. What else? Do we have anything else? I'm just checking my ephemeris here. I think that's it, other than Chiron, which we will talk about later. Okay, so new moon in Aries on April 1st. We're going to talk a little bit about that, of course. And we are also I'm going to briefly mention that our full moon this month is occurring in the sign of Libra. And that is going to be on April 16th at 1854. And again, that is GMT time. Then this month, very exciting, we have got our second new moon, what is also known as the black moon. And that is occurring in the sign of Taurus on April 30th at, what time is it? At 20:27 GMT. Okay, so just a sneak. Also, there's a solar eclipse occurring then as well. So looking forward to some very interesting changes at the end of the month here. Second new moon, also known as the black moon, is actually quite a positive thing. It is a second chance. Okay, so we will talk about that in an upcoming video. But I did want to mention it here because we're talking about the early part of April and this beautiful new moon. So new moon's always about new starts, the beginning of a cycle, right? In this case, it's the beginning of the cycle of April. And but in this case, it's even more special to me because it is in the sign of Aries, which is the start of the zodiac wheel. Okay, so it is the first sign of the zodiac. And so it is the beginning of a cycle. So there's a feeling of kind of new year. Even though we're in, April, there is this feeling of that. And for some of you, you might be really sensitive to that. For others of you, maybe it's just an unconscious thing. I would like to mention that this is a great time to start a project that maybe, or restart a project that maybe you tried to get up off the ground there in January for the new year. And it just didn't, if it didn't pan out for whatever reason, this is your second chance to make that happen. So we've got that kind of potential feeling in the air, of, being able to begin again. Okay. And so new beginnings, start of a new cycle, also that feeling in the air, and feeling energized, feeling that fire, feeling energized, feeling enthusiasm. For those of us who've had a dip in our energy, this is going to be like a time to refresh ourselves, feeling energized again. And so that's why it's a good time to start a project that maybe has taken, either it didn't get off the ground at all, or maybe you've kind of lost energy on it. This is a great time to bring it back because Aries is going to be like, yes, let's go, let's run with it. Okay, so some of the keywords that goes with this new moon in Aries is trailblazing, new beginnings, enthusiasm, energy. You also may feel a sense of urgency. Aries not known for their patience, okay, and in general. All right, that's very general. As a sign, it is not, it's the ram, right? It's about pushing forward, moving forward, and, not really wanting to sit still for too long, of that belief of, moss can grow, or moss? No, a stone can grow moss, if it sits too long, right? So Aries is like, no way, that's not going to happen to me. So there may be this feeling of urgency. Now, what I'm going to tell you is going to counteract that, because we're not always meant to push forward. Okay, sometimes we need to sit back and we need to observe, and we need to wait until we genuinely feel that it's the right time, rather than feeling this pressure to push forward. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You don't have to act right now, unless it's something in your life that's occurring that you do genuinely have to act on, of course. But there's going to be this overall feeling of, oh, I need to move, I need to act, I need to, and that's not necessarily the case. Okay, the important thing to take away from this is proceed at your own pace. Okay, we all have a different pace. So we're talking about our emotions here. This is the new moon, so it's all about the emotions. So you have to proceed, you have to move forward when you feel it's right. Okay, that is something to keep in mind. And also, the other thing to keep in mind here is that the moon is water. Okay, it is of the water element. Aries is of the fire element. Okay, so how do these two get along? They can get along, okay? But, of course, if you think about, fire, water can put fire out. So if we allow our emotions to overwhelm us, it can put out our fire. It can dampen our enthusiasm. It can feel like our fire's been put out completely. It can feel like that. And then the effect of fire on the moon, it can warm it up. It can feel all nice and warm and cozy. And then, oh my gosh, I'm getting too hot. Okay, so it's having to maintain a balance. Okay, so keeping in mind, proceed at your own pace and stay balanced. Okay, balancing your emotions with your enthusiasm, your emotions with your passion, your fire. Okay, so keeping that in mind as well. Let's see, what else can we talk about here? There is the closest aspect, actually, between this new moon is the conjunction of the new moon in with Chiron. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about that in another video, because there's so much to unpack, and I realize not everybody is maybe going to have an interest in that, but we will touch on it in this video. Okay, so but the other aspect that is also quite close is the sun and moon are also conjunct Mercury and Aries. So we are here. There we've got the moon conjunct Mercury. This is not an untypical aspect. And then we've got this conjunction right here. Okay, so moon conjunct Mercury. Mercury right now being in the sign of Aries, we are feeling passionate in our communications. We are wanting to focus on that. We are wanting to talk about stuff that we have an interest, and sometimes it can get heated. Okay, that's what happens with the fire. Sometimes it gets overheated. So maybe, try to temper that, because it is going to affect you more on a deeper level right now, because of the moon is there. Okay, so our emotions are going to get more engaged. So it's not going to just be this, wow, let's have this stimulating argument about some kind of politics or something, right? Maybe at another time, this would be like, oh, because Aries, their temper can flare, and then it blows over quickly. And then, the next day they're like, hey, how you doing? And it's fine. But because the moon is here, there's going to be a little bit more sensitivity around that. So keep that in mind. Okay. Keep that in mind when you're discussing things. The other thing I wanted to touch on in this video is, how does this new moon affect you and your personal chart? Of course, I don't know everybody's chart. But what I can tell you is, if you are of a fire sign, okay, if you know what your moon is, and you already have a moon in, say, Sagittarius and or Leo, there's going to be like a very agreeable feeling with this new moon. Okay, there's going to be a part of you that's like, yes, this is working for me, because you're simpatico. You're both fire. Now, I left Aries out of that equation, because sometimes what happens, not always, but sometimes when it's the new moon is there with your personal moon. So if you have happen to be a natally moon in Aries, this can sometimes be great, and other times it can feel very intense. Okay, so we can get really tired because there's just a lot of emotions coming up, because you've got your moon with your moon, the moon transiting over your moon. And so it can bring up a lot on that at that time. Same thing with the full moon, by the way. So keep that in mind. It can be great. It can be energizing, re-energizing if your personal moon is in Aries. But it is generally a safer bet. There's going to be an easier time if you happen to be a moon in Leo or a moon in Sag. Now, what about the other signs? Okay, so if you have a air moon, if your moon happens to be in the sign of Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, this is going to be also very friendly. Air and fire, they tend to mix well together. Fire definitely needs air, and air benefits greatly from fire. Fire helps warm the air, right? I mean, we don't want it too hot. Keep that in mind. But we do like a little bit of warmth. And so they work together quite well that way. As I said, fire definitely needs air to keep it oxygenated, right? Fire has to have that. Okay, so what happens if you have a water moon? Water and fire. What does that mix? That's exactly the mix that we're talking about here with the moon, which is water, in the sign of Aries, which is fire. That it can be sort of an uneasy alliance, because the fire knows instinctively that water can put it out completely, right? So that is an uneasy alliance. But then fire works with water. How do we cook our food? How do you boil potatoes? You need fire and water for that, right? So there is a purpose. If there's a purpose, this is what I meant to say. If there is a purpose, if you can set yourself a goal, give yourself an activity, you can use the higher aspect of the fire and water blending. Okay. So, but it's helpful if there is a focus and a purpose. Okay. And now, what about earth and fire? Okay, these are probably the furthest apart in some ways. So this is if we're talking about having a moon in natally, your birth moon is in the sign of Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo. So the fire is kind of bewildering. It's a bit bewildering. Now they do mix. We do have volcanoes, and that is a combination of fire and earth. That is a volcano, right? So we think, oh my God, we don't really want that. Well, maybe we do. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for a little bit of volcanic action. It needs to occur for new life, right? It needs to happen. We have volcanoes. It creates land. It is the birth of it is a birthing process, volcanoes. So that combination, so that is how this can affect you if you have a earth moon. This can be maybe you have a bit of an explosion occur, but then new life can come from that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Anything else we want to talk about? I think that might be just about it, because I'm going to do the rest on another video. But I did want to kind of touch on that and give you guys a little bit of insight for those who may be relatively new to astrology and how this affects you personally. Yes, there's all this, trailblazing, new beginnings, all that, but how does this affect you emotionally? Okay. And so that's why I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I think that's it. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this brief, I hope I kept it brief, video on the new moon. And I will see you in a bit. We will talk about the Chiron, being in Aries, and also how this is going to be affected by this new moon. All right. Talk to you soon.